A blessed day, classmates and Dr. Gordonas. I'm Evelyn. I hope you and your family are well and safe. Please stay home and healthy. Today, Group 3 will take you to another set of discussion focused on the different types of media and 10 different edtech tools. So stay with us and let's learn together. To start, let us begin with the end in mind. Our group's objectives are the following. First, to differentiate each type of media. Second, to provide examples. And third, relate each of them to any learning theory. Specifically in my presentation, I will cover a brief introduction about media, its definition and importance to education. I believe this was part of our last week's video presentation presented to us by Miss Julina. So this is in connection to that. Then, we will move on to the first type of media, the people media. I will cover its definition and finally differentiate people as media and people in media. So, let's get started. First, let's have a clear picture in mind of the main thing. So, I'll show you these pictures, the newspapers, internet and other platforms, television, and radio. I'm sure you get my point and know that all of these are labeled as media. To understand and remember what it is by heart, we can ask ourselves, what do these things offer us? By the way, I can notice that the text here isn't so visible. Don't worry, I'll be sharing with you my PowerPoint, my Google Slides. Okay, so again, the question that we need to ask so that we can understand and remember its meaning by heart is, what do these things offer us? Please feel free to key in your answers in our live chat. So, these things channel communication, whether print, digital, or electronic. And who would disagree that these media channel communication to us quite abundantly? Well, actually right now, concerning broadcasting, somehow this luxury was caught as the NTC completely shut down all the other remaining channels in TV+, cinema, teleradio, jeepney TV, etc. Now, only GMA remains, if I may share. And this is for those who have black box at home. Now it seems broadcasting has been limited, but how much more in the old times, right? Imagine living in the pre-Spanish era where there are completely no televisions. Traditional messengers, community scribes, and town criers are the main channels of communication back then. So I guess it's safe to say that still our media is quite of great abundance still, right? I want to share with you something I came across while reading the importance of media in today's time. And feel free to react, okay? I mean, give me your reactions. Like that. So it says, listen carefully because you might not be able to see some of the text. It says, in the world of today, media has become almost as necessary as food and clothing. Again, in the world of today, media has become almost as necessary as food and clothing. Please share your reaction. And as for me, I choose to react with this. I find that it is funny as it is true in the sense that I visualize myself waking up in the morning and wanting to check my phone right away. Sometimes it even postponed eating a meal, breakfast for example. So guys, classmates, should we change the apart or some words in the statement and say, in the world of today, media has become more necessary than food and clothing? No, of course, that would be sad and it shouldn't be. I think it's all about balance and self-control, right? So balance, let me just go back to that slide. How to go back, balance and self-control. Through these, we can rejoice in the fact that media can be a blessing in our lives. What do you think? Actually, media is, you've seen it, a gift to education. Things in the classroom have been made easier through the use of television, projectors, speakers, etc. These things are, of course, particularly referred to as instructional multimedia. In addition, different forms of media are proven beneficial in supporting our students' learning. Let me highlight 4 things. So, media is a gift to education because first, it appeals to multiple learning styles. Of course, of all people, we teachers are so aware of the theory on the different learning styles. We may have visual, auditory, or kinesthetic learners inside our classroom. And our eternal goal is to support them and maximize their learning styles for their own benefit. This shouldn't overwhelm us because we have our tool with us, the media. Students can watch a movie, listen to music, interact with digital media, and this actually promotes better student engagement. It's proven and tested. Next, it creates an authentic learning experience. How's that possible? Well, when we use media in the classroom, we allow our students to be exposed to real-life experiences. For example, watching a documentary that depicts a true scenario in the lives of Filipino people. I remember once with my grade 7 students, we watched a documentary about people who live in the cemetery. So I think that depicted a true scenario to them. Third, it strengthens the critical thinking skills of our learners. Yes, developing the hearts of our students. This happens when they produce outputs after an interaction with a certain media. For example, when our students write a reflection paper or an analysis after watching a movie, or when they create a presentation through the use of media. And lastly, media promotes literacy. Of course, the more exposed they are to the media, the more they can be equipped with the skills on how to operate it. Moreover, we teachers are positive that media integration in the classroom can develop the 21st century skills they need. So again, media is a gift to education. As first, it appeals to multiple learning styles, it creates an authentic learning experience, strengthens critical thinking skills, and promote media literacy. I think that's clear. Now, before we move on to the first type of media, I actually want to share with you 2 questions I had along the way as I study my topic. They might be of help. So, the first question I had in mind was the differences between these 3, and specifically, when do we use them? Media, medium, and mediums. So I will be giving you the general rules of thumb so we can select the right words always. Of course, we are English teachers, so we should know the right words, the right usage, right? So for your references, classmates, so media, I'll give you time to read, or actually you can't read the last part, so maybe I can read it better for you. So can be both singular and plural. It's a collective noun referring to mass media. It can be referring to multiple communication outlets or to a single communication outlet, and at the same time it's the plural form of the word medium. To give you an example sentence, we have, for example, the media is having a field day. Here, media is used in its singular form, and it took the singular form of the verb as well, and it refers to an outlet of communication, right? Next, we have the word medium. So it can function as a noun or an adjective. In most cases, it is used as an adjective to describe an intermediate quality. Yeah, medium size, for example. However, as a noun, its meaning is a means of transmission of a force or effect or an enveloping substance. So I'm gonna give you an example. The sound travels through the medium of the air. We don't say through the media of the air, because here we used medium as a word related to science. Got it? And finally, the word mediums. So mediums is a plural noun, the plural form of the word medium, unless it is referring to an outlet of communication. So we have here two sentences. Allow me to move myself. So Jane's experiment involved placing bacteria in several mediums to see if they would grow. Several mediums carried the story about the car crash in their local news segments, which between the two sentences used the word mediums incorrectly. What do you think? Incorrectly. So please key in your answer in our live chat. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the sentence that used the word mediums incorrectly, but I'm putting a check, is sentence number 2, because here mediums is used as this sentence requires the word media. Several media carried the story about the car crash in the local news segments. Okay, I hope that was of help. Let me share the second question I had along the way. Along the way, I was trying to figure out if media and technology are the same. And the answer to that is no, they're not the same. They're different, but they're very much interrelated, because it is technology that creates media. Without technology, media, whether in print, digital, or electronic means of communication, will not exist. So they are interrelated. That's it for the two questions I had in mind. Now let's move on. I will show you the first. I will show you first the different types of media that our group will cover today. So we have the following. Okay, people media, text media, visual media, motion media, audio media, manipulative media, and the multimedia. So to introduce the first type of media, let us use the same strategy we had at the start. Okay, once again, let us have a clear picture in mind of the topic. So I'm showing you a picture of a teacher, a blogger, news or radio anchors, and a speaker. They belong to the first type of media, the people media. To understand and remember it by heart, let us once again ask ourselves the magic question. What do you think these people offer us? Okay. What do these people offer us? Ta-da! That's a question. So, to answer that, they are the people who serve as the source of information through the media. So that means these people are involved in the use, analysis, and evaluation and production of media and information. So to simplify, we have, for example, radio and television. Then we listen and watch Karen Davila's news reports. We ask ourselves, what does Karen Davila offer us? Well, she communicates to us fresh and important news happening in our country. Therefore, she is part of people media. Now, look at her. Look at the teacher. What does she offer her learners inside the classroom or in the classroom, actually even outside the classroom? She also transmits a huge knowledge to them, right? Right? Is that right? Even without being on TV or radio. Therefore, the teacher also forms part of the people media. So, the anchors and the teacher lead us to the discussion of the two different types of people media. And it's funny because this concept is like, learn assessment as learning, assessment of learning, assessment for learning. It's funny how a single preposition can change the concept a lot. but we will understand them together, okay? So the two types of people media are people as media. So we have an initial example, teacher and a speaker, and then we also have people in media. Initial examples are the news anchors and news or radio anchors and the blogger. Okay. So let's start with people as media. I want to ask you first a question. What similarity do the teacher and the speaker have? Besides that, well, in the picture they're both women, I want you to point out a similarity in terms of how they serve as a source of information. Okay, so what similarity do they have? Okay, they are the media themselves. That means that the teacher and the speaker, in this example, serve as the medium for another person to learn or acquire new knowledge. That's pretty clear, right? So they are the media themselves. Let me take you now to the categories of people as media. We have 4. First, the opinion leaders. Second, the citizen journalists. And third, the social journalists. And finally, the crowdsourcer. Okay, first we have the opinion leaders. They are the influential members of a community, group, or society who others turn to for advice, opinions, or views. One perfect example, let me go here. One perfect example I can give is our President Rodrigo Duterte, especially in these times of pandemic. His views, for example, on the school's opening was, I think, really awaited. So I think I chose him to be the perfect example for opinion leader. Can you type another opinion leader you know in our chat box? Next, the second category belongs to the citizen journalists. They are the average citizens or amateurs gathering and spreading the news mainly through the internet. Let me show you an example. So this is my friend on Facebook, Miss Beam. Let me read quickly and shortly her post. This morning, I went to SM South Mall to purchase some items I need to see before buying. The ones in your areas are not acceptable as they will be a little heavy and I will walk a little far. I brought a trolley with me. Everything is fine as I was going home. In front of a clothing store called Simbi's or something near Golden Gate, there's this old lady walking in my opposite direction. Natisod siya. She fell sideways and knocked me down. I fell on the trolley, which is good, meaning I did not fall on the pavement. I did fall, but it could have been worse. We were both helped on our feet by the store ladies and some people passing by. I rested on a chair in front of the store. The lady looked at me but didn't say anything. She went on to where she is going. Eventually, I got home, able to eat, able to bathe. Should I go to the hospital considering I had some pain and felt a little dizzy? I'm afraid to go to the hospital. The pain is gone now. I'll just take a nap. Alright, I chose her as a citizen journalist because I think in her post, she's just trying to tell her friends that she's afraid of going to the hospital, especially these days that there's a pandemic, because I think it's more like hospitals are more prone to the virus. I mean, carriers of virus, and probably Miss Bim is also afraid to be suspected to have the virus or something if she feels ill. So concerning this, I actually want to share with you this question. So what's your take on this statement about citizen journalists? What does it mean to be a professional journalist if everyone is a journalist? Well, for me, it's true actually. Okay, please do react, by the way. What does it mean to be a professional journalist if everyone is a journalist? Okay, my reaction to this is a thumbs up. I think it's true. We know for a fact that everybody is allowed to write or voice out their opinions, specifically online. Basically, this is what citizen journalists are about. They are people without professional journalism training but can be a source of information. I think after all, it's up to the readers to decide whether the information is valid or not. Okay, the previous example, Miss Bim, I think it would fall under editorial, and she's a teacher, but she's not a professional journalist, so she could be considered as a citizen journalist. Okay, the third category, are you ready? Belongs to the social journalists. Who are the social journalists? They are the journalists, or they are journalists who use the online community to make their content available for more people. They are individuals with a professional background who want to supplement traditional news reporting by adding informative content in media channels such as blogs, microblogs, websites, web pages, and other online platforms. So the main difference of social journalists and citizen journalists is what? Can you type it in our live chat? Did you get it? Okay. The main difference is that social journalists have professional journalism background or training, while citizen journalists do not have. Okay, an example of a social journalist is Maria Eiresa, whom I think is pretty controversial now. She is a Filipino-American journalist and author known for co-founding Rappler, a Philippine online news website, as its chief executive officer. So, what about you? Do you know any other social journalist? Please type in our live chat. Alright, finally, the last category is a crowdsourcer. This refers to people who obtain needed services, ideas, or content by soliciting contributions from a larger group of people, especially from the online community. Crowdsourcing mainly occurs across all social and business interactions, where a crowd or a group with a common goal, has a common goal, which could be about innovation, problem solving, or efficiency. For example, this post on an FB page or group called Books, where it says that it is the world's first streaming platform for animated books. Then we see that it has reached, it's not so visible here, but it has reached 32,000 of people and have been shared almost 10,000 times. So this is a perfect example of this process called crowdsourcing. Okay. As a recap, again, we have people as media and its types. Categories: opinion leaders, citizen journalists, social journalists, and crowdsourcer. Yes. Okay. I hope everything is clear and that you are able to follow. Now, let's move on to people in media. This is the second type of people media, right? We have the anchors and a blogger as initial examples. Let us again do the same thing. Point out their similarity in terms of how they become the source of information. What do you think? So, the similarity that they have is that they are the people behind another form of media. How's that? Okay, the news or radio anchors use television or radio, television, visual media, or radio, audio media to disseminate information. The blogger, on the other hand, makes use of text media or social media to impart knowledge, and that's what makes them form part of people in media. Let me now take you to the categories of people in media. We have the print journalists, the photojournalists, the broadcast journalists, and the multimedia journalists. I hope you don't mind that. So, yeah, I actually turned off my data and I disabled my SIM card so that there would be lesser pop-ups, but that was unexpected. Okay, so let's have the first type, people in media, the print journalists. So they are the writers, columnists, and reporters who work for newspapers and news magazines. For example, we have here Romina Cabrera, who wrote this news article about 127,000 people who are stranded in Metro Manila and who are waiting to be sent home to their provinces. This is dated as of July 3 today. Second, the photojournalists. So they are journalistic professionals who are skilled at interpreting and communicating an event through photographs. Basically, they take photos, edit them, then display a story or information through them. For example, we have Rafi Lerma of Philippine Daily Enquirer. This photo was taken back in 2016, wherein kids of Baseco in Tondo, Manila wait outside to get their share of free meals. Yep. Next, the third category belongs to the broadcast journalists. So they are journalists who deliver news to the public over the television or even over the internet. Okay, four of my favorites are Jessica So, Cara David, Mike Enriquez, and Ted Filon. Okay, and finally, the last category belongs to the multimedia journalists. They are those who gather information, write stories, make broadcasts, and use social media to keep the public informed about current affairs and events. The word multimedia is used to label them because they use combinations of text, images, sound, videos, and graphics to tell an interesting story, to communicate something to the audience. And a perfect example is Boy Abunda. And by the way, his real name is not Boy, it's Eugenio. Okay. Alright. So once again, these are the different categories of people in media: print journalists, photojournalists, broadcast journalists, and multimedia journalists. Let us now see a summary of the categories under people as media and people in media. So remember, people as media, they are the media themselves: opinion leaders, citizen journalists, social journalists, and crowdsourcer. People in media, on the other hand, are people behind another form of media: the print journalists, photojournalists, broadcast journalists, and multimedia journalists. Alright, we've come to the last part of my presentation, so let me direct you back to the questions I asked you, or the questions we answered when we discussed about media and people media. The questions were: what do these things offer us? What do these people offer us? I think it's now time for us to ask ourselves, what can we offer these media or these types of media? For example, people media. Is there something that we ourselves can offer? I think this quotation from Mark Batterson gives us a great and nice perspective on this. So our role, or the thing that we can offer media and its different types, is that we can amplify our ability to reach more people in a good way. Remember that. Thank you for watching, and may God bless us all. Bye.
Hi everyone, I'm CARANOG and I'll be talking about another type of media, which is text media. Text media are either printed or digital text materials that are published for the purpose of communicating information to an audience. This is the type of media that we can use to easily spread or transmit information to others. There is a high level of accuracy and low level of errors. Why did we say this? Because if we are going to use text media, we can check and recheck it before we show it to the public or before we display it. Unlike when we are just speaking. So, for example, you may be listening to me and you may have heard some grammatical slips as opposed to when I'm just going to write it down and just show it to you because I can check it before you can see it. These are some of our examples of text media. We have newspapers, books, flyers, advertisements, and banners, websites, and also magazines and other publications are also types of or examples of text media. Uses and applications of text media. So we have five here. The first two here are connected reflection and expression in communication. In text media, we are writing it. So writing is a form of reflection and expression as well. Just like what I have said a while ago, when we are expressing ourselves in writing, it is better as we can check and recheck it. And also, we can control the length of it when we are writing it down. And we can carefully choose the words that we want to use if we are just writing it as opposed to when we are saying it directly. And writing is a form of communication. The third one is documentation. Text media is very important as a whole when we are doing researches or data gathering. Number four, job opportunities. Who are making these text media? Okay, it will open job opportunities to writers, editors, content creators, and the likes. And the fifth one here, it can be used as teaching aid or tool. So I place it as the fifth one so that we can transition to talking about text media for teaching tools of teachers like us. And also the good thing about text media is that as a whole, it is flexible, so we can adjust it depending on the purpose. For example, what are the subject areas that we are going to teach? It could be reading, language arts, math, history. We can adjust text media on that. It is popular for its availability as well, and it is portable. If you're talking about books, we can bring it, and also we can use or maximize the use of text media using our phones and other gadgets. And what we have to remember is that the teacher also needs to have a firm grasp of the material that we are going to use here, and it should cater to different types of learners because text media are good for visual learners, but then how about other types of learners? And it lacks intrinsic emotive quality, so that means um, it lacks the expressiveness of speech that we usually have when we are speaking or when you are listening to someone who is speaking. Because when you are using text media, the audience or the learner will be the one to give expression or expressiveness to the text that he or she is reading. Okay, so these are the classroom uses, and I will not discuss this one by one because I know that we are all familiar with these already. Software and digital equipment for text media. Software for creating text media. Various programs, both online and offline, exist for creating kinds of text media, whether they are documents, spreadsheets, presentations, or others. Some of the most popular Office suites are so this one, Microsoft Office, Apache Open Office, Libre Open Office, and Google Docs as well. Okay, so this one, Apache and Libre Open Office, so they work just like how Microsoft Word works, and they're a little bit old as well. Criteria for integration into lesson presentations. So, of course, we have to take note of if these materials that we are using, the text media, could contain activities to prepare our learners or to help our learners. First one, Is it appropriate for the lesson? Can it enrich the lesson? Can it enhance the understanding of the students? And can it arouse the interest of your students? So we have to ask those things. Okay, so Connie Malamid, since we are talking about text media, gave tips on designing text-based information. So let's see about these tips here. The first one is to left justify your paragraphs. How are we reading something? We read from left to right, and although we may not notice it, we go back to the same margin where we first started our reading or where we first started reading the line. And so if we are not left justifying our paragraphs, if we are going to place it in center format, it will slow us down in terms of reading. And slowing down in terms of reading because of that reason could also sacrifice the comprehension of our students. So we have to take note of that. It is better if we will just left justify our paragraphs. Second one, place text on a quiet background. When using photo background, place a slightly transparent box of solid color behind the text. So as you can see here in my presentation, I have a background picture, but then you can see that there's a dark overlay there before I put my words here so that you can still see and read my texts. Next one, avoid underlining words. If we want to emphasize a word or a phrase, we don't have to underline it. We can just use bold text or italics to emphasize it because we are sacrificing how the students can see each letters. And in my experience, I have taught a lot of students with dyslexia, and it is very difficult for them if you will be doing this because just choosing your font style is important, and using your underline or underlining words could be difficult for them to look at or to read. Use high contrast between text and background. So look at our example here. So if you have a white background or a light color background, it is not good to use the color of font like this or light colored font. So you have to use the opposing color. So if you have a light background, use a dark text or dark colored text. Next one, use dark text on a light background. So it's the other way around here. And the last one is to limit the range of color values in a gradient text box. So if we are just going to use one color in our font, but then your background is graded, so it changes its color. So it may be difficult as it goes on to read your text because like in our example here, you may not be able to see it when it is at the bottom already. And so these are my references for my presentation today. Thank you so much.
Hi, good day. I'm Sheila MATURANA and I'll talk to you about visual media. This is the overview of my presentation. First, what is visual media? Types of visual media. And lastly, advantages and disadvantages of visual media. Now, can you please picture out the image of Antonio Luna? Do you remember his face? Are you able to picture out his image in your mind? Now, here is the picture of Antonio Luna. Is the image in your mind matches this picture? Maybe some of you are yes, but most of us no. Pictures help us to recognize and remember someone, some things, or some events that happened in our life. Also, it helps us to understand an idea. And that's how visual media helps us. Now, what is visual media? Visual media is interpreted using primarily as what humans see. Visual media is often used as learning aid. Now, visual media plays a big role in advertising, art, communication, education, business, and engineering. Now, for advertising, companies use visual media to market their products to the consumer. That's how they use visual media. Now, art is visual media use it to build new concept or ideas. Now, because a picture worth 1,000 words. Next is education. It is used as learning materials and to deepen the idea of a topic. For business, instead of instead of describing your product in words, you can use pictures, so you can show your pictures to say it all. And lastly, engineering. Now, engineering, we know that engineerings have their blueprint for their constructions because it's easier for them to plan if they will draw it. Okay? So that's the role of visual media in these aspects. Now, there are 4 types of visual media. The first 2 are photography and video. So first is photography. Photography is the art of capturing light with a camera to create an image. These are the different types of photography such as landscape, macro, wildlife, portrait, documentary, fashion, travel, and event photography. Now, for landscape are the capturing pictures of nature and outdoors in a way that brings your viewers into the scene. Okay, next is macro. Your subject, or it is the close-up photography of small subjects. For example, example of these are flies and bugs. Okay, now wildlife. Your subjects are wildlife animals. Portrait. You picture. It is a picture of a person or a group of people where you capture the personality of the subject. Okay, next is documentary. Documentary used to capture an event that is relevant to the history. Fashion, it is uses for the in fashion. And then travel and event photography. Example of event photography for the wedding. Okay, so next is video. Video is the process of capturing of moving objects and recording images using electronic media. Video is the art and processing of shooting video in a way that elicits a desired effect on the viewer. Meaning to say, it is the production from concept to the final product. Okay. Next, the next 2 types of visual media are painting and drawing. Painting is the practice of applying paint, pigment, color, or other medium to a solid surface. Usually, painting is done with a brush, but a painter can use any medium. It can be sponge, airbrush, or even bare hands. It depends on the artist. Okay. Next is drawing. Drawing is a form of visual art in which a person uses various drawing instruments to mark paper or another two-dimensional medium. The instrument used for drawing are graphite pencils, pen and ink, colored pencils, crayons, charcoal, pastel, chalk, or various kinds of eraser or markers. Nowadays, we have digital drawing wherein you draw using a computer. Now, for digital drawing, the instrument you use are stylus for the tech and also mouse of the computer. That is for digital drawing. So now we have advantages and disadvantages of visual media. We have first the advantages. Now, advantages, it captures the attention. For example, you're scrolling through Facebook. What makes you stop and look further into a post? Most likely, it's the profile picture of a person you're interested in or the visual element they include in their post. something like that. Next, it is relatable. Relatable, for example, you're scrolling through your social media and you saw a video that at some point relates in your life. This is because visual media allows us or allows the people to relate with the content. It may spark a memory or emotion in the viewer. Next is understandable. Understandable, for example, a video of an interview would be more understandable than a written article because the viewers are able to see the subject's body language and hear the intonation of their voice, where these details could be lost in a written article. Hindi naman sasabihin sa news article na tumili siya habang sinasabi yung gantong statement. So that is the advantage of visual media. Next is participants feel more engaged because visual media stimulates thinking and improves learning environment. Next, easier to explain or put things in perspective, especially if it has direct relation to the content or the topic. Okay. Now, next is easier to remember because at some point, a visual media has an impact to their personality or their life. Okay. And lastly, helps in oral communication. For example, you cannot explain a particular topic in your own words. Okay. You can at least show a visual media to explain it further for you. Okay. These are the advantages of visual media. Now, let's have disadvantages of social media. Now, the first is costly. We all know that if you really want to pursue this career or you want to invest here, you need to invest really on the tools that you will going to use. For example, yung mga editing tools that may help you to create a visual media. Next is it is easier to lose focus of the participant, especially for kids because they might focus more on more attention to the graphics. Okay? And lastly, it requires a well-designed presentation or material to really catch the attention of the participants. It really requires a well-designed or quality designed presentation so that you will capture the attention of your participants. So that is the visual media. So thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. I am LYKA Polinar, and I am assigned to discuss about motion media. Let's start. What is motion media? I have here definitions of motion media. First, motion media is a form of media that involves the appearance of moving text and graphics, and they are on a display to mainly communicate information. Next, motion media is an integrated sight and sound kinetic media. It means to say that motion media is something that appeals to sense of sight and sense of hearing. Motion media is also defined as a form of visual media with a collection of graphics, footage, videos, and they are all combined with text, audio, and/or interactive content to create multimedia. When do we use motion media? Or what are the purposes or functions of motion media? First, motion media is used to communicate message to large audiences. These audiences can also be described as heterogeneous or anonymous audiences, communicating message simultaneously, sometimes in public, other times in private. Motion media is also used to embody messages that are usually impersonal and transitory. When we say impersonal, we are referring to message or information that has no personal reference. And when we say transitory, we are referring to information that may be temporary. Motion media is used to stimulate audiences' sight and hearing as it is multisensory in nature. Just like what I said earlier, motion media is something that appeals to sense of sight and sense of hearing. Motion media is used to deliver a formal, authoritative channel of communication. And lastly, motion media is used to discuss status of issues, persons, organizations, or social movements. What are the different motion media formats? We actually have three formats of motion media. First is film. Then we have motion pictures in TV or television, and interactive video. Let's start with film. Film is also known as movie or motion picture. It has something to do with series of still or moving images. Motion pictures in TV or television has something to do with telecommunication medium that can be monochrome or black and white or colored. Before, we are used to televisions that are monochrome, but today we have colored TVs. Specific examples of motion pictures are telenovelas, teleseries, commercials or TV ads, game shows, reality shows, and others. For interactive video, it has something to do with medium that blends interaction and linear film or video. Interactive videos are described as customizable, conversational, and exploratory. We have other formats of motion media, and most of them can be found in social media platforms or social media sites like Facebook, Vimeo, and of course, YouTube. At this point, let's discuss the advantages and limitations of motion media. Let's start with advantages. Motion media is operational in nature, or in other words, motion media is active and functional. Motion media is manipulative, or something that we can edit and modify so that we can create safe viewing or safe observation. Motion media exposes viewers to creative dramatizations and recreations of events. Good example for this one are movies or videos which are about historical events, or even documentaries. Motion media establishes commonality and shared discussion on a topic. Motion media displays opportunities for viewers to solve problems or issues. Motion media promotes the following. Since motion media materials can be seen or viewed repeatedly, it actually promotes mastery of procedures and events. It also develops skill learning, affective learning, and appreciation of topic. On the other hand, what are the limitations or disadvantages of motion media? We have fixed pace, still phenomena, misinterpretations, and cost. When we say fixed pace, there are motion media materials which unfortunately cannot be interrupted. Still phenomena, it has something to do with topics or contents that would require a medium that is not only appealing to sense of sight and sense of hearing, which motion media cannot provide. Misinterpretations. Some viewers tend to misinterpret or misunderstand the real message being conveyed by motion media materials. And lastly, cost. Some equipment and materials that we use in creating motion media materials are quite expensive. At this point, let's discuss about motion media and its role and significance in education. Considering the purposes and advantages of motion media as discussed earlier, here are three learning theories motion media is basically aligned to: cognitive learning theory, schema theory, and humanist learning theory. Cognitive learning theory emphasizes the idea of metacognition, or awareness of one's thoughts and thought processes. So how is this connected to motion media? Motion media materials help viewers not only to learn the content being viewed, but also to think about their thoughts and opinions on what is being viewed or presented. Schema theory highlights the concept of schema or schemata, and motion media could be a good avenue to trigger and activate background knowledge. Lastly, humanist learning theory points out child's authority and responsibility in learning, and motion media can be a good guide for the learners as they work on their independent learning. What are specific motion media materials that we can use as teachers? We have video-based learning materials, how-to videos for problem-based topics, public broadcast archives, educational films, documentaries, multimedia essays, video call or video conferencing, and interactive videos. Finally, I would like you to remember or take note of the following when we talk about motion media in education. Motion media provides deeper engagement in learning. Motion media helps learners to better understand content. And motion media encourages improvement of learners' cognitive capacities. That's all for motion media. Thank you.
Good day everyone, this is Christine from the Group D and I'll be presenting about audio media. So first, let us define these terms, audio and media. Audio comes from the Latin word audire, meaning to hear, so it talks about the sound, and media refers to the main means of communication. Together, audio media refers to the delivery of certain messages through the means of sound. And according to the freedictionary.com, audio media may also refer to audio formats like analog cassettes and digital CDs, computer files containing audio, and any number of digital formats that we do have right now. So let's go back to the brief history of audio media. First one is the phonograph. In 1877, the phonograph was developed as a result of Thomas Edison's work on two other inventions, the telegraph and the telephone. Thomas Edison aims to develop a device wherein it could record telegraphic messages on paper discs. Next is the gramophone. In 1894, all records were cylinders designed to be played in cylinder machines. The cylinders are made of wax compound that can easily be broken and easily worn out, leading to the problem that it could not be mass-produced since it could be copied in limited numbers only by mechanical or pantographic means. However, for the disc or the vinyl being played in the gramophone, it could be mass-produced since it is made of rubber. Next is the electrical recording. In 1920s, the Columbia Phonograph Company experimented with this new electrical recording equipment developed by the Western Electric, and it instantly became a hit since the consumers like the audio quality that is being produced in this process, for it is way better compared to the ones that are produced by the acoustic process. Next is the cassette audio tape. It was invented in the late 30s and was popularized in the 40s and 50s. So it uses magnetic recording wherein tapes are used, and tapes are made of thin plastic and coated with other things, and the most important ingredient is the ferric oxide. This ferric oxide made it possible for the method to be faster, and contents could also be deleted. Advantages are the following: it is reusable, easy to use, economical, and portable. Disadvantages are the following: tape sometimes sticks or tangles, noise and hiss are present, poor fidelity with expensive players, broken tapes are not easy to repair, and it is also difficult to edit. Next one is the compact disc or CD. It was invented in the late 70s and early 80s but became popular digital recording format in the 90s. Advantages are the following. It is portable, reusable if you use the rewritable ones. It is more durable than the cassette tape. Contents can also be easily browsed since you can skip one track to the other, and it is not prone to background noise unlike the cassette one. It has higher audio quality than the cassette. It has larger storage space. Disadvantages are the following. It could be damaged by improper storage or mishandling. It is more prone to scratches and fingerprints. Durability depends largely on CD quality, so if you want to have a long-lasting one, you need to buy a good quality CD. And it is also not shockproof. The player's lens is very vulnerable and can only be used once for recording if you are not using the rewritable ones. Lastly, we do have the digital audio files. According to Holmes 2006, the term digital audio player most commonly refers to the portable music players that use non-removable, erasable digital media instead of removable media as a means for storing and playing digital music recordings. So the advantages are the following. It's very portable, files do not degrade, and can easily be distributed using computer. It can be played on multiple devices like radio, phones, and music players, and can be transferred into physical media such as CDs through the process of burning, or it can be stored in our flash drives. Files can be converted to a multitude of audio formats that are present as of now. Files can also be compressed. Disadvantages are the following. It can be easily edited using computer softwares that are available right now. Ease of file sharing can lead to easy copyright infringement as well. Files that have been compressed to a lower quality could not be decompressed to its original quality. Advantages in using audio media. According to Linux 2007, it helps recall memories, enhances our brain activity, and stimulates our brain. It is also useful in developing the listening skills of the students. And for the teacher, it lessens the need for repetition of instruction and fewer reminders are needed. It also helps the learners with special needs, specifically children with learning disabilities like children with dyslexia. It also supports distance learning. Teachers and students can listen and access it anytime and anywhere. Disadvantages are the following. It may be difficult for the teacher to control the device used in the classroom, most especially if the students do have their access on the audio file on their phones. Students will not learn how to read as effectively since they depend on their listening skills. It can be time consuming if there are some technical issues. So before we use any audio file or audio media in our classroom, we need to double check it first if it is working or not. So here are my references, and that would be all. Thank you.
Good morning, I am Mamusi Morgan and today I'll be discussing multimedia. So first, what is multimedia? Multimedia is derived from the words multi and media. Multi means many or multiple. Media is our tool for communication. Multimedia is media and content that uses a combination of different content forms. The term is used in contrast to media, which only use traditional forms of printed or hand-produced material. Multimedia includes a combination of text, audio, still images, animation video, interactivity content forms. For example, a presentation involving audio and video clips will be considered a multimedia presentation. Educational software that involves animation, sound, and text is called multimedia software. CDs and DVDs are often considered to be multimedia formats since they can store a lot of data, and most forms of multimedia require a lot of disk space. There are a lot of different definitions of multimedia available on the internet and other references. But here's the good working definition of multimedia for our course. Multimedia is the field concerned with the computer-controlled integration of text, graphics, drawings, still and moving images, animation, audio, and any other media where every type of information can be represented, stored, transmitted, and processed digitally. Let us take a look at the history of multimedia. The term multimedia was first used by Bob Goldstein in July 1996 to promote opening of his light works. In 1970s, the term was used to describe presentations consisting of multi-projector slideshows timed to an audio track. In 1990s, multimedia took on its current meaning. Ty Vaughan declared multimedia as a combination of text, graphic, art, sound, animation, and video that is delivered by a computer. In common usage, the term multimedia refers to an electronically delivered combination of media, including video, still images, audio, text, in such a way that can be accessed interactively. Computers marketed in 1990s were referred to as multimedia computers because they contained a CD-ROM drive. Multimedia has two categories, the linear and non-linear multimedia. In linear, active content progresses without any navigational control for the viewer. Best example of this are cinema presentation, film, or a book. In non-linear multimedia, non-linear content offers user interactivity to control progress as used with a computer game. Example, interactive DVD, online games, and hypermedia. These are the characteristics of a multimedia. Multimedia presentations can be viewed in person on stage, projected, transmitted, or played locally with a media player. Broadcasts and recordings can be either analog or digital electronic media technology. The various formats of technological or digital multimedia may be intended to enhance the user's experience. Online multimedia is increasingly becoming object-oriented and data-driven, enabling applications with collaborative end-user innovation and personalization on multiple forms of content over time. Types of multimedia. Multimedia formats include the audio, capture and tape, function of photography, slideshows. The following extensions commonly used to lay up multimedia documentations: MOV, MP4, 3GP, VOV, FLV. Here are the features of multimedia. Text is the most widely used and flexible means of presenting information on screen and conveying ideas. Text is an essential aspect of presenting the information. Like each element of the multimedia design, effective use of text can either direct readers' attention or divert it. Audio. Audio refers to a sound. Multimedia can include files which contain sounds. Audio songs also come under the heading multimedia. Multimedia presentations often have some audio tracks, which makes it easier for people to understand. Multimedia phones have music players to run audio music. Various audio software include VLC Media Player, RealPlay, and etc. Pictures or images is a two-dimensional screen display, and as well as a three-dimensional such as a statue or hologram. Graphs, pie charts, painting, etc. all come under images. Images are a very useful feature of multimedia. Multimedia presentations uses pictures or clip art to make people understand. Various file formats of images are JPEG, PNG, GIF, and etc. A video is an edited material as it had been originally filmed by movie camera or recorded by a video camera. The embedding of video in multimedia application is a powerful way to convey information, which can incorporate a personal element which other media lack. Video enhances, dramatizes, and gives impact to your multimedia application. The advantage of integrating video into a multimedia presentation is the capacity to effectively convey a great deal of information in the least amount of time. Animation. Animation is the rapid display of a sequence of images of 2D or 3D artwork or model positions in order to create an illusion of movement. The effect is an optical illusion of motion due to the phenomenon of persistent sublution. Animation adds visual impact to the multimedia project. Animations are used in cartoons or scientific visualization. Interactivity can be termed as the dialogue that occurs between an individual and a computer program. Interactive multimedia refers to the multimedia applications that allow users to actively participate rather than being passive recipients of information. Technologies such as DVDs and digital TV are classic examples of interactive media devices, where a user can control what they watch and when. Interactivity also relates to new media art technologies where humans and animals are able to interact with and change the course of an artwork. Let us talk about multimedia today. Multimedia and its related applications have almost become synonymous with modern technology, given the kind of explosion the technological realm has seen. Multimedia makes our life easier several times fold. It is through multimedia that our mobile phones can be used for a number of purposes. Also, with the introduction of newer generations of mobile phones and more advanced communication protocols, the number of multimedia uses that your phone can be put to keeps growing. Video conferencing, which enables people across global borders to communicate with each other in real time, is an excellent example of how multimedia has benefited the world of communications and telephony. These are the scopes of multimedia. The technology of multimedia design utilizes various features like animation, video, graphics, audio, and sound to impress the users. Multimedia technology is used for 3D cinema applications and mobile 3D TV environments. Animation is also being used in film films, creating special effects, or in web entertainment programs. That scope of animation is huge in context to market. In the field of education, multimedia is being used extensively, especially for online courses and trainings. Multimedia is also used in advertising purposes. The advantages of using multimedia. Multimedia enhances the effect of text presentations. It improves the quality of presentation and retains the attention of the audience. It can be used for educational as well as entertainment purpose. It is quick and easier to operate for the instructor. Multimedia presentations can be modified very easily. Multimedia is entertaining as well as educational. The disadvantages of using multimedia. It is non-interactive if one way, no feedback. It is complex to create. It is very time-consuming. Also, use of multimedia is expensive. Multimedia finds its applications in various areas. For example, in commercial, much of the electronic old and new media used by commercial artists is multimedia. Exciting presentations are used to grab and keep attention in advertising. For entertainment and fine arts, multimedia is heavily used in the entertainment industry. especially to develop special effects in movies and animations. Multimedia games are also very popular. In education, multimedia is used to produce computer-based training courses. Entertainment is an informal term used to describe combining education with entertainment, especially multimedia entertainment. In engineering, software engineers may use multimedia in computer simulations. Multimedia for software interfaces are often done as a collaboration between creative professionals and software engineers. For the conclusion of our topic, TESL could benefit tremendously from active and collaborative multimedia research. Multimedia and graphics can be a very effective tool to communicate, educate, compel, and convince your audience. Multimedia can help to gain and hold attention, make points clearer, stimulate discussion, and in general, enhance the learning process, if it includes the appropriate human elements. So that ends my report. Thank you for watching.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Carmela G. ASEBIAS. I'm taking Masters in Education Management, major in Educational Leadership Management. And for this subject, TESL 605, Instructional Multimedia, I will be the one who will discuss about manipulative media. So for today's discussion, we have different learning objectives. First, to define manipulative media. Second, to explain the importance of using manipulative media. And third one, to write the different useful manipulative media. So it is expected that at the end of discussion, we are able to execute these different learning objectives. So let's start. Let's define manipulative. In education, manipulative are materials provides a way for children to learn concepts through developmentally appropriate hands-on experience. It means these are the tools or materials that can be controlled or manipulated. And when we say media in education, are generally defined as the means by which information is conveyed from one place to another. It means media is a medium or a tool used to transfer different knowledge or information from instructor to learner or from someone to another. So when we say manipulative media, are any concrete objects that allow students to explore an idea in an active hands-on approach. It means these are the tools that can be used to enhance the learning capacity of the learners by exploring, discovering, manipulating different materials. We have here different pictures, puzzles where they can form it, the models where they can touch it, open it, pop-ups in different reading materials, the blocks. But we have also different online games where they can create your own cake, own house, own dress. An application where you can go to different places by driving. And software where you can enhance your drawing skills, sketching skills. And wearing VR or virtual reality headsets. But I know you have a question in your mind. When we define manipulative media, we say these are the tools that can manipulate it, can be controlled. But why I show these pictures? Can we control this game? Can we control this VR? The answer is yes. We have two types of manipulative media. First, the traditional manipulative media, and next, the virtual and digital manipulative media. So we have an activity, this is a short activity, where you are going to guess whether it is traditional manipulative media and virtual and digital manipulative media. I'm going to show different pictures and you are going to write one if you think or if you guess it is traditional manipulative media, and you are going to write two if do you think it is virtual and digital manipulative media. You can write or type it on our YouTube live chat. Again, type 1 if traditional, type 2 if you think it is virtual. It's just a wild guess. So let's have for the first picture, abacus.
You may write 1 or 2. Timer starts now. Time's up. Abacus is traditional manipulative media. When we say traditional manipulative media, these are the medias actually being used in certain school, wherein they use different materials that the students can use to have hands-on experience regarding the lesson. So when we say traditional manipulative media, these are the commonly found inside the classroom. You can touch it, you can open it, you can squeeze it, you can bend it, just like puzzles, Rubik's Cube, models, realia, blocks. Next picture, again, you are going to type 1 if you think it's traditional manipulative media, and type 2 if you think it is virtual and digital manipulative media. So you may write 1 or 2 in our YouTube live chat. Time's up. This is an AutoCAD, and it is virtual and digital manipulative media. When we say virtual and digital manipulative media, are enhanced version of physical objects created in concepts that our children can explore through direct manipulation. In other words, these are computer-based simulations of physical manipulative that are accessed via the internet or computer software. So these are the software of applications that we can manipulate using internet or using gadgets. So we have activity again. You're just going to type 1 or 2. So for the first, we have traditional manipulative media. I'm going to show 2 pictures and tell me if it is 1 or 2. Okay, so for traditional manipulative media, is it 1 or 2? So you may type your answer on our YouTube live chat. Time's up. The correct answer is number 2. Good job. So we have here the statement, things before words, concrete before abstract. It was stated by Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi. Pestalozzi is a Swiss educational reformer where he emphasized the importance of having different materials as a tool to enhance the learning capacity of the learners. He emphasized the engagement of different senses, the importance of engagement of different senses to enhance or to improve the learning skills of our learners. Next, we have the father of kindergarten, Friedrich Froebel. He introduced the very first kindergarten school in the world, and he founded it in Germany. And he's a fan of Johann Pestalozzi. He idolized the idea of Pestalozzi that having different tools or different materials can enhance the learning capacity of our learners. That is the reason why you can find different toys inside of his classroom, kindergarten classroom. But he didn't call it as a toys. He calls it as gifts. Gifts wherein the blocks, rings, balls, sticks, or different tools are capable of developing the mental capacity of our learners. He said that by having different tools or having different things like this can introduce basic concepts or basic informations that turns into complex informations that can boost the mental development of our learners. Next, we have Maria Montessori. She believes that education of the senses is the best way to introduce education. She said that to develop the full concentration of the learners to education is to engage the hands, the different senses, and the mind. So having the hands, different senses, and the minds, we can gain the full concentration of our learners. She is also the founder of Montessori schools. For the last one, we have Jean Piaget. He said that children must first construct knowledge through concrete operations before moving on to formal operation. This is the same concept, just like when Johann Pestalozzi said that conflict before abstract. So the children must introduce first to different materials before engaging to abstract or different concepts that is too complex. That is the reason why in kindergarten, nursery school, in grade 1, there are various instructional media or instructional tools. We have different pictures, we have big books, we have different shapes, we have different toys inside the classroom because they can touch it, they can manipulate it, they can use their different senses to explore different materials that can enhance their learning capacity by discovering different ideas on their own. So let's have an activity again. You may write your answer or you may write different useful manipulative tools in our YouTube live chat. I'm going to say or state different statements and then you may write your answer. Okay, so let's start. First, engaging with blocks, abacus, helps children understand concepts of space and the physical properties of objects. So you may choose between blocks and abacus. Timer starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is blocks. Yes, blocks. Abacus is used for counting numbers. Next, the main importance of diorama, globe, is that it is more accurate than a flat map and can give students a sense of perspective when they see that they are part of a larger world. You may choose between diorama and globe. Timer starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is globe. Because diorama is portraying a scene in three-dimensional figures. Last one. Photoshop, AutoCAD, offers users the ability to create, enhance, or otherwise edit images, artwork, and illustrations. Timer starts now. Time's up. The correct answer is Photoshop. Good job! Because AutoCAD, this is a software or application that is commonly used by construction professionals to make a 3D blueprint of their building or house that they are going to build. So, congratulations! So, as I connect my topic to what Dr. Gordonas discussed last time, the use of manipulative media is constructivist. Constructivist part of learning theory because students are actively engaged in discovering during the learning process. So as I end, let me have this quotation. The beautiful thing about learning is that nobody can take it away from you. B.B. King. So these are my references used in my discussion. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Maria Carmela G. Acebias, and thank you for listening.
Good day everyone, my name is ANALYCA LIBRON and I'm going to discuss about multimedia learning. So in this discussion, we're going to answer 3 questions. First is, what is multimedia learning? Second, why do we need to integrate it in our instruction? And the last one is, how can we use multimedia effectively? As we begin, let me show you some pictures. I know that a lot of us or everyone's familiar with these visual aids because we all experience Manila papers and cartulinas, especially in the public school. And I know a lot of teachers, like elementary teachers, who are very creative when it comes to lesson presentation. But when I was a student, and since I am a provinciana, I had this transition of excitement when I saw my teachers started to use technology like laptop and projectors inside the classroom. I was more excited. It caught my attention easily and it changed the classroom atmosphere. That's why I agree with the previous reporters or presenters who said that multimedia is a powerful tool when it comes to instruction. Now, what is multimedia? I know that the previous presenter already discussed everything about it, but let us have a short recap on its definition. So, multimedia is the use of text, graphics, animation, pictures, video, and sound to present information. It is also being used increasingly to provide computer-based instruction, especially today that we are facing this pandemic, that we are shifting from the traditional learning environment to the blended learning environment. So we must use technology, we must use multimedia to accommodate the needs of our learners. That's why we have multimedia learning. So what is multimedia learning? It is the delivery of instructional content using multiple modes that include visual and auditory information. And students use this information to construct knowledge. Well, since we are the source of information in the classroom, how do we transfer this information? So we use multimedia to deliver this information to our students and help our students to convert or to construct this information into knowledge. We all know that the kind of learners or students that we have today is very different than before. Our K-12 learners are being called digital natives, and this term was defined already by our professor, Dr. Gordonas, in our previous meeting, that digital natives are the people who have grown up with technology. It is part of their everyday life, and they have never known a world without technology. Thus, technology is their native language, and they expect to use it everywhere, including school. Since our K-12 learners are digital natives, teachers and researchers believe that technology helps our learners to learn more. So how does it happen? How does it work? Well, it has a connection with how our brain processes information. According to research, our brain processes information using two channels, the visual and the auditory. Our ability to process information is a multi-step process. It includes perception, attention, selection, organization, and integration. And the center of this process is our long-term memory. Our long-term memory stores our accumulated knowledge. Our accumulated knowledge is organized into chunks of information, and we call that schema. Our schema helps us and allows us to integrate this new information to our long-term memory. Now, the problem is if this new information does not find its way to long-term memory, it is lost. That's why we teachers should guide our students to integrate their new information to their prior knowledge. So before this information goes to our long-term memory, it is first being processed by our working memory. Unfortunately, our working memory is very limited because it can only handle small amounts of information. And according to George Miller, our brain can only process 7 pieces of information at a time, and it can only keep it in 20 seconds. That's why we have to be quick to take advantage of it. However, when information is presented using both the visual and auditory channels, our working memory can handle more information overall. And this is where multimedia enters. But the challenge is we have to use it effectively. Now the question is, how does effective multimedia look like? So there are just some principles that can help us if we want to use multimedia effectively. The first one is content characteristics, or the presentation itself. Second, delivery characteristics. How do we deliver our presentation? And the last one is the context characteristics, or why do we do it? Next. So let's have first multimedia content characteristics. So it says here, words and pictures are better than words alone. For example, you are describing T-Rex to your students, that it has 2 legs and it is a carnivorous one. However, you notice that your students find it difficult to imagine what T-Rex is. That's why you decided to show them a picture of the dinosaur. And in that way, they can see what T-Rex looks like. And I believe that they can understand the lesson more. But since you are an effective teacher, you did not only prepare for the picture of the dinosaur, but also presented a video clip of T-Rex. And this video clip already uses visual and auditory channels, and for sure this will bring a huge difference to the learning process of the students. Next is multimedia learning is more effective when the learner's attention is focused, not split. Split attention occurs when two information were presented separately. For example, in an English class, the teacher is narrating a story, and after the narration, he or she presents an animation of it. But why not present it together so the attention of the student is focused on the lesson or the story itself? The last one under content characteristics is the presentation of multimedia content excludes extraneous and redundant information. We teachers want to teach everything to our students, but it will lead to overload of cognitive knowledge. So even though we present a lot of information to our students, not all of those information will be remembered. Why? As I have mentioned earlier, our working memory is very limited and it can only process small amounts of information. So what should we do? Let us limit our learning objectives, and that can be achieved in 1 hour or less, and choose relevant activities that are aligned to our lesson objectives. Now let us go to multimedia delivery characteristics. First, multimedia learning is more effective when it is interactive and under the control of the learner. I saw this meme once on Facebook. Yung ang bilis maglipat ng slide si ma'am. Me, bala kayo dyan, ayoko na magsulat. Atat ka eh. So we must remember that not all our learners learn at the same pace. We must give them the control on their own learning process. So how do we do that? By slowing it down. Let us stop or pause for a bit and let them process the information that we are presenting to them. The next one is multimedia learning is most effective when the learner is engaged with the presentation or when the learner can relate to your presentation. For example, when I was teaching writing proposal to a class of 40, 33 males and 7 females, and as an introduction, I showed them this picture and asked them, "Are you waiting for this special moment?" And only the girls reacted, and they said, "Sana all, ma'am." And I noticed that the boys were quiet. So I showed them the next picture and asked them, "What would you feel if your proposal got rejected?" And this time, the boys reacted and they told me, "Ma'am, it's game over." And the girls were laughing. So after showing these pictures, I also played a video of a rejected wedding proposal, and at the end of the video, there was an explosion of reactions. So even though they have not yet experienced this kind of proposal, somehow this kind of scenario can engage themselves to your presentation or to my presentation. Well, the next one is multimedia context characteristics. First, multimedia learning is more effective when learner knowledge structures are activated prior to exposure to multimedia content. So before we introduce new knowledge or new information to our students, always make sure that we help them recall the previous lesson by doing preview activities like short review, short game, or short assessment so that their prior knowledge and this new information will be connected during the discussion. The last one under context characteristics is multimedia learning is most effective when the learner can apply their newly acquired knowledge and receive feedback. At the end of the day, this is all what we want from our students. It is to apply what they have learned from the lesson. And do not forget to give them feedbacks because feedbacks can also help them to correct their confusions or misinterpretations of the lesson. So all of these principles of multimedia learning only lead to one point, and that is enhanced student learning. So the use of technology today will be very helpful in this time of pandemic, but it will also be very challenging. So let us equip ourselves and take advantage of the free online trainings that are offered to us so we could still give our students quality education. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.